You're listening to Move IQ's podcast. I'm your host, Phil Spencer, and I'm absolutely delighted to introduce this season's co-host, my friend Chris Ducker. This is the place where I'll be sharing my advice, my experience, tips and tricks on all things property and moving home. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Go2 offer you an award-winning home moving service, from mortgages to surveys, conveyancing to removals. Their service means one simple point of contact, freeing up your time and taking away any hassle, enabling you to enjoy the move. Be sure to check out Go2. Hello everybody, and thanks for tuning in. This is Phil Spencer and my co-host across the way, Chris Ducker, and we're going to be here talking about how to view a property.
Episode 4, Phil.
Episode 4.
How are we feeling?
We're rampaging through
This
them.
is your first podcast, isn't it?
Yes.
With you at the helm. Are you feeling good so far?
I'm enjoying it.
Yes.
Are you enjoying it?
Absolutely
Well,
so.
you've done millions of these.
I'm having a good time as always. So, all right, viewing a property. I mean, this is, we've done the legwork here. We've kind of, we've put the time in and all the rest of it. Where do we start with this? And I think probably, actually, let me kick off the conversation with this. There's a difference between viewing a house and viewing a flat.
Well, there is. Only because the house sits on its own piece of ground,
Right.
and it's freehold. A flat is going to be leasehold, so you own the long lease. You don't actually own the ground that the flat sits on. There is a difference in information that you need to understand and to learn as you go through the viewing, but not so much in how you conduct the viewing itself. The viewings. Hugely important. I can't overestimate that enough. There's no point turning up to a viewing if you're feeling knackered or sick or hungover or, really seriously, you need to be able to engage all senses on that vital 10 minutes. I mean, you're trying to make a massive financial, emotional decision based on a very short time in a house. It's a fact. People spend more time researching and driving a second-hand car that they're thinking of buying, that's going down in value,
Right.
than they do looking around a house. I mean,
Right.
it's beyond belief, but it's not beyond belief because it's completely true.
I agree with you 100%. And I think the best way to kind of separate this episode out is sort of looking at first viewings and then, second viewings and third and fourth or fifth if you need to as well. So, I mean, what should we be looking for the first time
viewings.
that we walk through the door?
Yeah.
What do we need to be looking for?
Well, it actually begins before you walk through the door. Don't be late. Turn up early. There's nothing that upsets a busy sales agent more than somebody turning up late, because
Agreed.
it puts
Right.
the whole day out of sync for them,
Yeah.
and they've got hundreds of appointments. So turn up on time. If you happen to get there nice and early, then use that time. Use that time to look up and down the street. What are the neighbours like? What's the traffic like? What's the parking like? What's the noise like? Have a look at the condition and the exterior of the house that you're about to go and look at. Once you walk through the door, you've really got to switch on. I mean, genuinely, switch on. I have a 10-second rule, because I believe that first impressions, a house and indeed a person only gets one chance to make a first impression.
Absolutely.
The majority of house buying decisions, I believe, are taken in the first 10 seconds you walk in the door.
Interesting.
You've bought a house recently, Chris. I know. How long did it take you to decide that was the right house? How long had you been looking around the house?
We hadn't even walked in it.
Really? What do you mean?
Well, I should follow up.
That was an easy sale, wasn't
it?
it?
I know, yeah. We had looked at, our situation was quite different because we were living overseas at the time. We were wanting to move back to the UK. So we had been looking at houses on and off for about a week or so. So we'd walked around a good few houses. I mean, probably about 15 or so we looked at. And actually, every house up to the point was a beautiful house. The people that we worked with, we gave them the brief. They did a great job in getting what we wanted. But I think that it enabled us to make that decision finally, ultimately, at the end of thinking, before we'd even walk, I literally hadn't even gotten out of the car.
And you felt this is it?
And I looked at my wife and I smiled. And then when we got out of the car and I was
Yeah.
standing on this gravel driveway and I could see the, half acre of garden, chestnut trees and little birds on a bird table
Okay.
outside. I'm looking around, I'm thinking, this is beautiful. And
Yeah.
then I walked around the corner and saw the old thatched roof that I had been wanting. I know a lot of people don't like the idea
yeah.
of a thatch, but before we even stepped foot,
Fine.
it was very clear. But I think the reason why I got to that point so quickly was because of the fact that we looked at so many houses and we figured out what we liked about those houses
Yes.
and what we didn't like early on in the journey.
As per the first podcast that we did,
Indeed.
sorting out what you really need to what you would like to have.
Exactly.
Um,
Okay. So I've got a follow-up question to that. And I mean, we made our decision quite quickly. I mean, you say 10-second. Explain the 10-second rule a little bit more.
Because I think people walk into they open the door, they walk in, and you do immediately get a first impression. You can't help but get a first impression. And that counts for a lot. So if you're selling a house, you want somebody to be on the front foot. You drove up, you sat in the car, the moment you got out of the car, you're on the front foot because you're getting positive energy. You're seeing things that you like. This is good, and you immediately think, "Oh, this is going to be good. This is all right." So you're forward thinking rather than it's a bit small. That's a bit tight.
Right.
I've got to step over the pram. Immediately. You're on the negative, you're on the back foot, so the house then has to get better. So personally, when I go looking around a house, I walk in and I want to do a quick scoot around the whole house, really ever so quick. Just run round, get my bearings, see the layout, and just get my head around it. And then I go back through the rooms really slowly and really thoughtfully and carefully, and assessing how big they are, whether there's any odd shapes, whether things could fit in, how people would live. I would say to people, to listeners, don't get hung up on how the existing occupiers are using the rooms.
Right.
Because they can change.
Yes.
The bedroom doesn't have to be the bedroom. The dining room doesn't have to be the dining room. It could be the living room. It could be the kitchen.
Right.
These things are movable. Another real flag is not to be seduced by the fixtures and fittings and the kind of lifestyle of the owners. It's true when you're moving house, you tend to be wanting to moving up in the world. It's full of aspiration and ambition and hope and excitement, and there is perhaps a risk if you go into someone's house and they are living the life and the lifestyle that you aspire to. That can be seductive. Just ignore everything else apart from the bricks and the mortar, the sizes of the rooms. That's what you're buying. Nothing else will be there on the day that you move in.
I mean, one of the things that I've come across before, not in this particular instance of buying this recent property, but properties beforehand, elsewhere in the world, is these estate agents, these real estate agents, whatever they end up calling themselves, they badger you. They follow you around. They're trying to sell the property. They're almost hanging off your coattails as you're walking in and out of rooms. And I mean, on one or two occasions, I've had to turn around and say, can you just give me and my wife just 5 minutes? Can you just leave? Just go away for a little while? We kind of, we're thinking of living here. It would be nice to be left alone for a few minutes so we can talk about things. Is that something that you think a lot of people have to endure?
I think they do endure it. But you're absolutely on the same page as me. I need headspace. I can't think clearly if someone's walking behind me going, well, this is the bathroom, this is the bedroom. Oh, I know it's the bathroom, I know it's the bedroom.
Clearly the toilet gives that away.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And if somebody finds themselves in that position, I think it's absolutely fair and okay to do it politely. Excuse me, Mr. Estate Agent, Mrs. Estate Agent, can you just give us a bit of time? Show us. They need to do their job. You need to let them do their job. Let them show you around the house, do all the sales pitch. Fine, thank you very much. Would you mind if I had a wander of quiet round now on my own?
Okay, so with the first kind of viewing, taken care of, second viewing, it's a natural kind of next step in the process. What do we need to take into consideration with that?
Well, first viewings naturally are quite a lot about heart and emotions because you're getting a reaction.
Right.
Does it feel right? Do you like it? Of course, it's got to have the right numbers of rooms and you've got to feel comfortable with what it offers. But second viewings, which are vital, should be done at a different time of day. Simply because you've got a different experience. Is it during the working week? Is it at night time? Is it at the weekend? Is it during rush hour? Is it during school drop-off time? Just try and do your first and your second viewings at different times so you get a proper sense of the house and what's around it and who's coming and going. But the second viewings are more about your head. So you've established you quite like it. You're considering it. This is an option. Let's go back and have another look. Let's really drill down a bit more now. Imagine, will all of your things fit in the house? And importantly, will they still fit in 5 years' time? Will it still last the course? Okay, it might be right for now, but will it still be right in 5, 10, 15 years' time if you can? I always like to turn the lights off. Sounds strange. But
we're getting very personal here.
Maybe not on an evening viewing.
Why is that? That's a curious thing.
If I'm viewing during the day, I want to see how much natural light it receives.
Okay.
You can change anything about a property. You can make it bigger. You can make it better. You can change the layout, but you can't change the amount of natural light that it receives. And I've taken so many people into so many houses over so many years. The very first thing that they realise is if it's a light house. A real way of doing that is if you turn the lights off.
And let's face it, here in the UK, we've got the dull months, haven't we? It's quite grey a lot of the time here through the year.
You can absolutely loads of things that you can do to lighten up a property with, power and electricity.
Of course.
But actually, there's nothing beats natural light.
Yeah.
Have a look at the view from each window. I'm really sensitive about views. Views are important to me.
You get quite romantic with them.
Well, I like a view.
Yeah.
And when you're looking around the house, be mindful that views change. That sounds odd, but at different times of the year, the view will be different. Mm-hmm. Are the leaves on the tree or off the tree?
Right.
If the leaves are on the tree, what's behind them? Because in the winter, that's what you're going to be looking at.
What you're going to be looking at, right? Yeah.
Questions to the estate agent, questions to the vendor on this second viewing. You want to find out as much as you can, gather as much information as possible, because information is power when it comes to negotiations.
And going back to your 10-second rule, you also have a 10-minute rule as well on these second viewings in regards to sort of walking in a lot of different not getting in the car, you're walking in different directions around the property.
That's outside. Just getting familiar with the area around that property, and again, visit at different times of day. Go and see what it's like on a Saturday night.
Yeah,
some places will be very different. So yes, do the 10-minute circuit, because that's the area you're going to be living. You're going to be walking the dogs. You're going to be walking your kids to school. You're going to the shop. You're going to the shop late at night. You want to know the atmosphere. But in terms of actually what's in the house or in the flat, find out from the vendor why they're moving, what their forward plans are. I always ask, if they were staying in the property, would they improve it? What would they do? It gives you a bit of a step up. Actually, we were thinking if we were staying, we were going to do a side return, or we were going to extend, we could put another bathroom in the loft or something like that. On that topic, actually, it's worth asking, has any work been done in the past? Did they do anything? Did their predecessors do anything? Mm-hmm. Because if it has been done, you want to know that information, because you want to be able to tell your solicitor and your surveyor to check that the right paperwork's in place as and when. If you're looking around a flat, there are slightly different questions. If you're looking around a flat, you need to know how long is the lease, what is the situation regarding maintenance of the building or the block, who is the freeholder, and how much service charge is being paid.
It's all great. These are great points here in regards to this. And I think really the next logical kind of topic is it's going to come down to money. It's going to come down to making an offer, and then obviously being in a position to be able to negotiate that offer properly. And we're going to be diving into that in the next episode. But do you want to give us a little bit of a sneak peek on this one?
Well, negotiations, absolutely crucial podcast. It's a crucial topic to get right. What I would say is negotiations in property start much, much, much earlier than people ever seem to give them credit for. It's not, negotiations don't begin when you ring up the estate agent and say, I'd like to offer X amount. Actually, negotiations have begun on your viewing. You may not know it, But rest assured the agent knows it and he's looking for all angles during that viewing. You need to be careful. You need to have all your wits about you.
This is going to be a juicy episode. I'm looking forward to this one. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Move IQ podcast. We'll be back with you talking all about making that offer and negotiating it in episode number 5. Until then, take good care.
Thanks for listening. That wraps up this week's episode of Move IQ's podcast. Whatever podcast app you like to use, please do go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'd also really appreciate it if you could leave a review. Reviews really help other people like you find us. For free resources and materials, head over to moveiq.co.uk. Thanks for tuning in.